Hi everyone, it's Nigel Giam here, the lead GP training program director for the St Mary's scheme and course director for Mentor MRCGP and Mentor SCA. I'm so happy to have Yuting join us so that she can share her amazing SCA success story. As you can see, Yuting is looking very floral today and very summery and obviously having a much nicer background compared to mine. Welcome, Yuting. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's lovely to see you again, by the way.
Thank you so much, Dr. Giam. It's so lovely to have me here today and share my experience and
Oh.
my story to everyone, and hopefully to perk everybody's mood a little
Yeah,
bit
perk is
and
a
some
really
more
good
hope.
way of, I suppose, trying to get everyone's energies up because we've just had the results come out for the June sitting and they don't read very well, unfortunately. Now, I know you and I, we've worked a long time to attain your SCA success, but it was a first time success and it was a really, I suppose, powerful narrative because when you approached me, you were very worried about the fact that English isn't your first language, that you're an international medical graduate, and how we approach the exam with strategy. Before we maybe launch into that, maybe tell the audience a little bit about yourself, your background, how you've ended up in general practice training.
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Yuting. I come from China. I did my med school in Beijing. It's a lovely med school just next to the Forbidden City.
Oh,
And
amazing.
yes, so I entered general practice because I'm quite interested in primary care because we don't have such a system back in China. So that's the major motivation for me to study
Yeah,
general practice, and I really enjoy it. And I'm so glad that I've passed the CA. So just waiting for CCT and to
amazing.
start my journey as a fully fledged GP.
Exactly. So really exciting opportunities. But obviously that hurdle of the SCA can be quite a big one. And you came to see me months in advance of sitting. I mean, really quite some time ago. It feels like I've known you forever, which is lovely because we did a lot of sessions after the masterclass and there was a lot of tough love which I had to dispense. Maybe if we talk about your game changers, because I think what was really nice is quite unlike some people who come to see me and they're already set in bad habits, you came to see me really early because you wanted to get into good habits early on. Um, Perhaps for the audience, you could explain what some of these good habits might be, especially around data gathering, clinical management, and relating to others. Maybe we'll start with the data gathering. What would you say to our audience out there who are kind of thinking, well, I thought I was in good habits, but I failed data gathering. What can I do differently?
So I think we need to go back to the basic mantra from the master class. Always start from like story, symptom, system. Bear
Yeah.
that in mind and get the eyes out really early in a
Yeah.
nice way.
Yeah.
Just try to understand patient's expectation,
Yes.
everything and their story, and
Yeah.
then just set your journey into the right direction at the very beginning.
Yeah, I think that's so important, isn't it? Because actually, if you go for the symptom first, you won't know where the direction of the narrative is going. Um, Today was quite interesting because I've just finished doing a masterclass, and people don't necessarily understand this concept of case priming. Maybe you could explain that to the audience why case priming is so important, specifically with this exam as well.
Yes, because in the real exam you see quite a lot of notes before going into the station. So try to understand from the notes what might be coming up, what
Yeah.
kind of story, what challenges. Try to predict the
Yes.
story and challenges. It will help you to prime the case better, set
Yeah.
up your structure, ask the right question, and also basically have the right battle plan.
Yeah, and that's the key. This is the thing that we talk about so much. The 3 minutes isn't just there to kind of twiddle your thumbs and wonder what's coming in through the door. It's about
Mm.
saying, actually, given what's happened already to the patient, it is very likely that this patient is going to be coming in, and something that is relevant is obviously using those notes in context to know your place in that patient's timeline. If we move on to clinical management, what would your game changers be around this?
I think really being like really patient-centered is the key.
Mm,
So you can deliver the same message in a non-patient-centered way and get really bad marks on that.
yeah,
And the same message, just change the way you deliver it.
yeah.
Be very kind, nice, ask patients' opinion, engage them into the management plan, then you will pass it.
Yes, I think that's so important is actually, often when we hook onto a diagnosis, the tendency is to talk at the patient rather than with the patient. And when we start thinking about management options, we end up just listing lots of different things and then saying, well, what do you think about that? As opposed to just trying to keep it open and conversational. Um, In terms of, I suppose, so an interesting question today, which was asked of me, was if I'm faced with something that I'm uncertain about, how do I approach this case? How do I manage uncertainty with confidence? What would your advice be around this?
I think we just need to be very honest
Yeah,
and also commit to risk at the same time.
exactly.
You have to verbalize your clinical thinking
Yeah,
and what can be the possible diagnosis, the differentials, and
yeah,
what are the reasons behind them.
yes, yes. And
And
I
this
think
is
I
what
think that's so
I
correct.
did in the real exam,
Yeah,
and I passed that station.
yeah. Yeah, because actually, management of risk is more important than necessarily knowing what the diagnosis is. I mean, you'll have been through the master class. You know that we often have cases where the diagnosis may not necessarily be completely crystal clear, and it's important to be able to verbalize your thought processes. Just be honest and say, I actually don't know exactly what's going on, but what I do know is that you're presenting with something which potentially we need to look into today in order to find out what's going on. So that's an important message because when you are chasing for a symptom or a diagnosis, that's the tendency when your confidence seems to go away because you're uncertain of what you're going into. And you mentioned a really important thing, which is being patient-centered. So that brings us quite nicely on to relating to others because we know that negotiation skills feature heavily in this
Mm.
exam, and being patient-centered is not the same as just doing what the patient wants you to do. So when you're faced with that patient and you know that what they're asking you is not appropriate, how do you still showcase being patient-centered? What are your game changers here?
So you need to demonstrate that you're nice, firm, and fair to the
Yeah,
patient. So let them know that you are standing on their side,
yeah,
trying to do the best management for them
yeah,
and verbalize the dilemma, the
exactly.
buzzword, magic word,
It is a
and
magic word.
explain why you can't do this, why
Yeah.
you think there are other things, alternatives are better for the patient.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you've mentioned this word dilemma because more and more people who are passing this exam and doing it really well are incorporating this word not just into the exam but into everyday general practice because we're faced with dilemmas every day. We're faced obviously with a crippling system where we often just cannot meet patients' expectations. But we always need to think about what we can do to try and help. I suppose just moving on, because you did pass really well on your first sitting, but it wasn't without hiccups. I mean, you had quite a traumatic day when you texted me. What exactly happened actually with the IT? Because I think a
Oh
lot of
my
people will
gosh.
often kind of go, "Oh, God, it's such a nightmare."
Oh yes, I feel like there are like so many things happened on that day. My day
Mm,
just didn't start well from the very beginning. Like all my nerves were thoroughly tested by the
mm,
universe on that day. Starting from my journey from home, the driving wasn't straightforward. There's a lot of
mm,
like roadblocks. I need to
yeah,
change my way. And well, going to the exam, my window the whole window of the exam just closed off 1 minute
no.
before I went into the first station. It was like traumatic to me. I
Oh
was like
gosh.
left in like blank.
Oh
But
dear.
gladly, I saved the IT help desk number to my phone. So I switched on my phone and called them directly and asked, what shall I do? And get the correct advice and went back into the exam and then, well, did my exam on the same
Okay.
day.
Okay. So that's good. So that's actually a really good tip, isn't it? Have the
Yes.
IT advice phone there just because you don't know what's going to happen. And I think it's really important, isn't it? Because these things, they're not in your control. So it's really
Mm.
important to be able to kind of housekeep your feelings and just make sure that the nerves don't get the best of you. Because things like that can, especially if it's your first station as well, can really upset the whole balance. But despite that, you passed really, really well, and I'm so happy for you. What is the plan now? So you're just waiting for CCT. What is the plan post CCT?
I want to take a break and relax, just enjoy life and find some more passion of life and do
Yeah,
things that I've missed out during the exam preparation.
absolutely. Well, it looks like you're starting to enjoy yourself there on that beach. You look very summery and floral, so it looks like, that's all starting for you now, which is fantastic. Whereas me, I'm just going to be running another masterclass tomorrow. So unfortunately, no rest for the wicked, as they say. Well, Yuting, I wish you the very best with it. It's been a joy to have worked with you. It seems like a massive journey, but the world of general practice is very small, and if you're passionate about it, I'm sure you will find your passion. So do stay in touch.
Thank you so much. And I honestly, I feel so grateful to having the doing the master class and doing a few one-to-one sessions with you. I feel like I'm prepared to 100% ready for this exam before I went into exam. So that's why I'm resilient enough to overcome all the IT hiccups.
That's great.
There are a few other more like during the exam, but I was okay to hold myself together
Hold
and
your nerves.
put a big smile before
Good.
each station. I always remind myself, smile, big smile. And in that the first second, I feel this rapport building with
Yeah,
actor directly.
brilliant. And we always say that, don't we, actually, that smiling is the best medicine. 3 smiles a day, it's all the medicine you need, you know.
Yeah.
Smile with your eyes, you smile with your heart, and you're doing a lot of smiling right now. So thank you for that energy, and hopefully that really inspires those of you who are going to be taking the exam imminently. Stay in touch, Yuting. Lovely to see you again. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye.